The hot summer air hung heavy over the downtown streets as Officer Danny Martinez drove his patrol car slowly through the business district. It was almost 9 o'clock at night, and most of the office buildings were dark and empty. Danny had been a police officer for 8 years, and he thought he knew this area well. He knew who belonged here and who did not. Danny was not a good police officer. He was the kind of cop who made assumptions about people based on how they looked. He treated white people with respect but was mean and suspicious toward black and Latino people. His fellow officers knew about his bad attitude, but most of them stayed quiet about it. Some even agreed with him. As Danny turned the corner onto Main Street, he saw a woman walking alone on the sidewalk. She was a black woman, probably in her early 40s, wearing a nice dark blue business suit and carrying a leather briefcase. Her hair was pulled back neatly, and she walked with confidence. But Danny did not see a professional woman. All he saw was a black person in a neighborhood where he thought she did not belong. Danny pulled his car to the curb and got out. The woman was walking toward the parking garage where many of the business people kept their cars. She had not done anything wrong, but Danny was already suspicious of her. "Hey, you there," Danny called out in a loud voice. "Stop right where you are." The woman, whose name was Lisa Washington, turned around calmly. She had been expecting to have a quiet walk to her car after a long day of meetings. She was tired and wanted to go home, but now she had to deal with this police officer who seemed angry for no reason. "Is there a problem, officer?" Lisa asked politely. Her voice was calm and respectful, even though she could already sense that this officer had bad intentions. Danny walked closer to her, his hand resting on his belt near his weapon. "What are you doing in this area? The businesses are all closed. You don't look like you belong here." Lisa felt a familiar feeling in her stomach. She had dealt with racial profiling before, but it never got easier. She took a deep breath and kept her voice steady. "I just finished some meetings at the Hamilton building. I'm walking to my car in the parking garage." "What kind of meetings?" Danny asked with suspicion in his voice. "What business would you have in the Hamilton building?" "I had several business meetings today," Lisa answered. She did not feel like she should have to explain herself to this officer, but she wanted to avoid trouble. "I work in law enforcement." Danny laughed in a mean way. "Sure you do. Let me guess, you're some kind of security guard?" Lisa felt insulted but kept her cool. "No, I'm not a security guard. I'm a police administrator." "Right," Danny said, not believing her at all. "So what company do you work for? Some private security firm?" "I work for the police department," Lisa said simply. Danny's face showed that he thought she was lying. "Lady, I know everyone who works for the police department in this city. I've never seen you before. You're obviously lying to me, and that makes me even more suspicious about what you're really doing here." Lisa realized that this officer was not going to listen to reason. She also realized that he was treating her badly because of her race. She had seen this behavior many times before in her career, and she knew it was dangerous for her to be alone with this officer. "Officer, may I please have your name and badge number?" Lisa asked politely. Danny's face got red with anger. "Are you trying to threaten me? You think you can intimidate a police officer?" "I'm not threatening anyone," Lisa said calmly. "I'm simply asking for your identification, which is my right." "Your right?" Danny stepped closer to Lisa, trying to make her feel scared. "You don't have any rights right now. You're acting suspicious in a business district after hours. You're lying to a police officer, and now you're being threatening." Lisa could see that this situation was getting worse. There were a few people on the street who had started to notice what was happening. A young man across the street had taken out his phone and seemed to be recording. An older woman walking her dog had stopped to watch. "I'm not being threatening," Lisa said. "I'm being respectful and cooperative. I've answered your questions honestly." "Honestly?" Danny shouted. "You expect me to believe that you work for the police department? Look at you. You're probably some kind of drug dealer or prostitute who's working this area." Lisa's jaw tightened. She had heard these kinds of insults before, but they still hurt. She had worked hard her entire life to build her career and her reputation. She had a college degree and a master's degree in criminal justice. She had spent 20 years working in law enforcement, but this officer saw none of that. He only saw her race. Officer, I need to get to my car now, Lisa said firmly. I have not broken any laws and I have been cooperative with you. You're not going anywhere until I say you can go, Danny said. He moved to block her path. I think you're hiding something. Maybe I should search you. Lisa felt her heart rate increase. She knew that this officer was out of control and that she was in real danger. She slowly reached into her suit jacket for her cell phone. Don't move, Danny yelled. Keep your hands where I can see them. I'm just getting my phone, Lisa said calmly. I said don't move. Danny grabbed Lisa's arm roughly and spun her around. You could have a weapon. Lisa tried to stay calm, but Danny's grip on her arm was painful. Officer, you're hurting me. I was just reaching for my phone. You were reaching for a weapon. Danny pushed Lisa hard against the brick wall of the building behind her. Lisa hit the wall with force. The rough brick scraped against her hands as she tried to catch herself. Her expensive suit jacket tore, and she felt pain shoot through her, shoulder and back. Several people on the street saw what happened. The young man with the phone was definitely recording now. The woman with the dog was shouting at Danny to stop. A couple coming out of a restaurant started running toward them. Lisa slowly stood up, her hands bleeding from the scrapes. Her suit was torn and dirty. She looked at Danny with a mixture of pain and disappointment. Officer, she said quietly, you just made a very big mistake. Danny Martinez looked at Lisa Washington as she stood up slowly from the ground. Her hands were bleeding and her nice suit was torn and dirty. But instead of feeling sorry for what he had done, Danny felt more angry. He thought Lisa was trying to make him look bad in front of all the people who were watching. Look what you made me do, Danny said loudly. If you had just cooperated from the beginning, none of this would have happened. Lisa wiped the blood from her hands on a tissue from her purse. She looked at Danny with calm eyes even though she was in pain. Officer, I did cooperate with you. I answered all your questions politely and honestly. You lied to me. Danny shouted. You told me you work for the police department, which is obviously not true. That's lying to a police officer, which is a crime. The young man who had been recording with his phone stepped closer. Hey, officer, she didn't do anything wrong. Why did you push her like that? Danny turned toward the young man with anger in his eyes. Mind your own business and keep walking or I'll arrest you too. The young man stepped back but kept his phone recording. More people had gathered on the sidewalk. They were all watching Danny and Lisa with worried faces. Lisa looked around at all the people. She knew they were trying to help her, but she also knew that Danny was getting more dangerous as more people watched. She had seen officers like Danny before. They hated being questioned or challenged, especially in public. Officer, Lisa said, in a calm voice, may I please call someone to come help us sort this out? Sort what out? Danny asked with a mean laugh. The only thing we need to sort out is why you're lying and what you're really doing in this neighborhood. I've told you the truth, Lisa said. I work in law enforcement and I was at business meetings today. Stop lying, Danny yelled. He was getting more upset because Lisa would not admit she was lying. I know you people think you can come into nice neighborhoods and cause trouble. Well, not on my watch. When Danny said, you people, everyone watching knew exactly what he meant. The crowd of people began to murmur angrily. They could see that Danny was treating Lisa badly because she was black. An older black man in the crowd spoke up. Officer, that woman hasn't done nothing wrong. Why don't you just let her go? Danny turned toward the man. I told everyone to mind their own business. This woman is suspicious and I'm going to investigate. Suspicious of what? Asked a white woman holding a small dog. Walking to her car? That's not a crime. Danny was getting frustrated. All these people were watching him and judging him. He felt like they were all against him. In his mind, he was just doing his job, but these people were making it harder. Lisa could see that Danny was losing control. She knew she needed to get help before things got even worse. She slowly reached for her phone again. I told you not to move. Danny grabbed Lisa's wrist hard and twisted her arm behind her back. Lisa gasped in pain. Officer, you're hurting me. I just want to make a phone call. You don't get to make phone calls until I decide you can, Danny said. He was holding Lisa's arm so tight that it was turning red. I think you're reaching for a weapon. It's just a phone, Lisa said through gritted teeth. You can see it if you want. Danny took the phone from Lisa's hand and threw it on the ground. The phone's screen cracked when it hit the concrete. Hey, shouted the young man who was recording. You can't do that. That's destroying her property. I can do whatever I need to do to protect myself and the public, Danny said. He still had Lisa's arm twisted behind her back. Lisa's shoulder was throbbing with pain, but she tried not to show it. She had been in difficult situations before, but this was different. This officer seemed to hate her for no reason other than the color of her skin. Officer, please let go of my arm, Lisa said quietly. I'm not resisting you. You resisted when you tried to reach for what I thought was a weapon, Danny said. It was clearly a phone, said the woman with the dog. We all saw it was a phone. Danny looked at all the people watching him. He was starting to realize that many of them were recording him with their phones. This made him even more angry and defensive. All of you need to back away right now, Danny yelled at the crowd. This is police business. But the people did not back away. They could see that Danny was hurting Lisa for no good reason, and they wanted to make sure nothing worse happened to her. Danny reached for his radio with his free hand while still holding Lisa's arm behind her back. This is Officer Martinez. I need backup at Main Street and Fifth Avenue. I have a suspicious individual who is resisting arrest. Lisa's eyes got wide. Resisting arrest? I haven't resisted anything, and you haven't even told me I'm under arrest. You're under arrest now, Danny said quickly. For lying to a police officer, disturbing the peace, and resisting arrest. Those charges don't make sense, Lisa said. I haven't disturbed any peace and I haven't resisted anything. Tell it to the judge, Danny said with a mean smile. Within a few minutes, 2 more police cars arrived. 2 officers got out. One was a white man named Jake Collins, who was about the same age as Danny. The other was a Latina woman named Maria Santos, who looked younger than both of them. Jake Collins walked over to Danny with a confident smile. What do we have here, Danny? Caught this one lying about working for the police department, Danny said. She was acting suspicious in the business district, and when I tried to question her, she became hostile and tried to reach for what I thought was a weapon. Jake looked at Lisa with the same suspicious eyes that Danny had. Is that right? You told my partner here that you work for the police? I do work for the police, Lisa said firmly, even though her arm was still being held behind her back. Jake laughed. Sure you do, and I'm the mayor. But Maria Santos looked uncomfortable. She could see that Lisa was well-dressed and professional looking. She could also see that Danny was being unnecessarily rough with her. Maria had only been a police officer for 2 years, and she was still learning how to handle difficult situations. Danny, Maria said quietly, maybe we should just check her identification to see who she really is. Danny and Jake both looked at Maria with annoyed expressions. We don't need to check anything, Danny said. I know a liar when I see one. Lisa looked at Maria with hopeful eyes. Officer Santos, I would appreciate it if you would look at my identification. It will clear up this whole misunderstanding. Maria looked at Danny and Jake, then back at Lisa. She could see that this situation was not right, but she was afraid to challenge her more experienced colleagues. Maria Santos looked around at all the people watching them. She could see phones recording everything that was happening. She could also see that Lisa Washington looked like a professional person, not someone who would cause trouble in the business district. Danny, Maria said quietly, I really think we should check her identification. It will only take a minute. Danny Martinez was getting more frustrated. He did not want anyone questioning how he was handling this situation. Maria, I've been doing this job a lot longer than you have. I know what I'm doing. Jake Collins nodded in agreement. Danny's right, this woman is obviously lying. Look at her. Does she look like she works for the police department? Lisa felt her anger rising, but she kept her voice calm. What exactly? Am I supposed to look like officers? Jake and Danny exchanged looks. They both knew what they meant, but they did not want to say it out loud in front of all these people with cameras. You know what we mean, Jake said finally. No, I don't know what you mean, Lisa said firmly. Please explain to me what someone who works for the police department is supposed to look like. The crowd of people watching began to murmur louder. They could all hear the racism in Jake's words, even though he was trying to hide it. An older white woman in the crowd spoke up. This is disgusting. You're treating this woman badly just because she's black. Ma'am, please step back, Jake said to the woman. This is police business. This is wrong and everyone can see it, the woman replied. She did not step back. Maria Santos was feeling more and more uncomfortable. She had joined the police force because she wanted to help people and make her community safer. But watching Danny and Jake treat Lisa this way made her feel sick to her stomach. Lisa looked at Maria with desperate eyes. Officer Santos, please, just look at my identification. It's in my purse, that's all I'm asking. Maria looked at Danny, who was still holding Lisa's arm behind her back. Danny, what's the harm in checking her ID? If she's lying, we'll know. Right away. The harm is that she's playing games with us, Danny said angrily. She's trying to waste our time and make us look stupid. I'm not trying to make anyone look stupid, Lisa said. I'm trying to show you who I really am. Jake Collins was getting impatient. Look, we've wasted enough time on this. Let's just arrest her and sort it out at the station. Wait, said the young man who had been recording everything. She has a right to show her identification. You can't just arrest someone for no reason. We have plenty of reasons, Danny snapped. She was acting suspicious. She lied to a police officer, and she resisted when I tried to investigate. That's not what happened, said several people in the crowd at the same time. Lisa could see that this situation was getting out of control. She knew that if these officers took her to the police station, it would be much harder to clear up this mess. She also knew that every minute that passed made things more dangerous for her. Officer Santos, Lisa said, looking directly at Maria, I'm going to tell you something, and I need you to listen carefully. In about 5 minutes, some very important people are going to arrive here. When they do, all of this is going to look very bad for your department. Maria frowned. What do you mean? I mean that I really do work for the police department, and when my colleagues realize what's happening here, there are going to be serious consequences. Danny laughed loudly. Your colleagues? You mean your drug dealer friends? Lisa looked at Danny with sad eyes. Officer Martinez, you are making the biggest mistake of your career right now. Is that a threat? Danny asked, twisting Lisa's arm harder. It's not a threat, Lisa said, wincing from the pain. It's just the truth. Maria Santos made a decision. She walked over to Lisa's purse, which had fallen on the ground during the struggle. I'm going to look at her identification, she announced. Maria, don't, Jake warned her. You're just encouraging her lies. But Maria had already opened Lisa's purse. She reached inside and pulled out a black leather wallet. When she opened it, her face went completely white. Oh my God, Maria whispered. What? Danny asked, still not letting go of Lisa's arm. Maria's hands were shaking as she looked at the identification card in the wallet. She read it once, then read it again to make sure she was seeing it correctly. Danny, Maria said in a very quiet voice. You need to let her go right now. What are you talking about? Danny demanded. Maria held up the identification card so Danny could see it. Danny, this is Chief Lisa Washington. She's the new police chief. Danny stared at the identification card, but he could not seem to understand what he was seeing. That's impossible. The new chief doesn't start until Monday. Today is Monday, Danny, Maria said quietly. Jake Collins grabbed the identification card from Maria's hands. He looked at it carefully, then looked at Lisa, then looked at the card again. This has to be fake, Jake said, but his voice was not as confident as before. Lisa spoke in a calm, quiet voice. Officer Collins, that identification card is not fake. I am Chief Lisa Washington, and I was officially sworn in this morning. I spent the day in meetings with city officials and department heads. The crowd of people who had been watching began to talk excitedly. They had heard Lisa say she was the police chief, and they could see the shock on the officers' faces. Maria Santos felt like she was going to be sick. Danny, let go of her arm right now. But Danny seemed frozen. He was still holding Lisa's arm, behind her back, but his grip had loosened. He kept staring at the identification card in Jake's hands. Lisa could feel Danny's grip getting weaker. "Officer Martinez, I need you to release me now." Danny slowly let go of Lisa's arm. She brought her arm forward and rubbed her shoulder where it hurt. "This can't be real," Danny said, his voice barely above a whisper. Lisa reached into her pocket and pulled out her cell phone. Even though the screen was cracked from when Danny threw it on the ground, it still worked. She dialed a number and waited for someone to answer. "Captain Hayes," she said into the phone. "This is Chief Washington. I need you to come to Main Street and Fifth Avenue immediately. Bring Deputy Chief Brown with you." She paused and listened to the person on the other end of the phone. "No, I'm not hurt badly, but there's been an incident with some of your officers. I need you here now." Danny, Jake, and Maria all stared at Lisa as she ended the phone call. The crowd of people was getting bigger, and more phones were recording everything. "They'll be here in a few minutes," Lisa said calmly. Danny Martinez felt his knees getting weak. For the first time since this whole thing started, he was beginning to realize that he might have made a terrible mistake. The next few minutes felt like hours to Danny Martinez. He stood there looking at Lisa Washington, trying to understand what was happening. His mind kept telling him that this could not be real. The new police chief could not be this black woman. He had just pushed against a wall. Jake Collins was also confused and scared. He kept looking at the identification card in his hands, hoping it would turn out to be fake. But the card looked real. It had all the right official marks and seals. Maria Santos felt terrible. She wished she had spoken up sooner. She wished she had checked Lisa's identification right away, instead of letting Danny and Jake treat her so badly. The crowd of people on the street was getting bigger. Word was spreading that something important was happening. People were coming out of restaurants and stores to see what was going on. Everyone was talking and pointing at the three officers. And Lisa. Lisa stood quietly rubbing her sore shoulder. Her suit was still torn and dirty. Her hands were still bleeding from the scrapes, but she looked calm and dignified, like nothing could break her spirit. "Chief Washington," Maria said quietly, "I'm really sorry about what happened. I should have stopped this sooner." Lisa looked at Maria with kind eyes. "Officer Santos, you did the right thing when you checked my identification. Thank you for that." Danny heard Lisa call Maria by her name, and it made him feel even more scared. If Lisa really was the police chief, then she already knew who all of them were. She would remember their names and badge numbers. In the distance, they could hear sirens getting louder. Lisa's phone call had worked. Help was coming. Jake Collins walked closer to Danny. "Maybe this is all some kind of mistake," he whispered. "Maybe she's not really the chief." But even as Jake said it, he did not believe it. The identification card looked too real, and Lisa was acting like someone who had authority and power. 3 police cars turned the corner and drove quickly toward them. The cars had their lights flashing, but no sirens. They stopped right in front of the crowd. Captain Robert Hayes got out of the first car. He was a tall man with gray hair who had been with the police department for 25 years. Everyone respected him because he was fair and honest. Deputy Chief Kevin Brown got out of the second car. He was younger than Captain Hayes, but still very experienced. He was known for being tough on officers who broke the rules. 2 other officers got out of the third car, but they stayed back and watched. Captain Hayes looked around quickly. He saw the crowd of people. He saw the phones recording everything. He saw Lisa standing there with her torn suit and scraped hands. Then he saw Danny, Jake, and Maria, and his face got very serious. "What in the world happened here?" Captain Hayes asked in a loud, clear voice. Danny tried to speak first. "Captain, we responded to a call about a suspicious person in the business district. This woman was acting strange and lying about who she was." Captain Hayes held up his hand to stop Danny from talking. Then he walked straight to Lisa. "Chief Washington," Captain Hayes said with respect in his voice. "Are you all right? Do you need medical attention?" When the crowd heard Captain Hayes call Lisa Chief Washington, they began to talk excitedly. The people who had been recording everything realized they had just witnessed something very important. Danny felt like he was in a bad dream. Hearing Captain Hayes' call Lisa chief made everything real. There was no more denying it. He had just attacked his own boss. "I'm fine, Captain Hayes," Lisa said calmly. "But we need to talk about what happened here tonight." Deputy Chief Brown walked over to them. He looked at Lisa's torn clothes and bloody hands, and his face showed anger. "Chief, who did this to you?" Deputy Chief Brown asked. Lisa looked at Danny Martinez. "Officer Martinez pushed me against that wall. He also threw my phone on the ground and broke it." Deputy Chief Brown turned to look at Danny with fire in his eyes. "Officer Martinez, is this true?" Danny's mouth felt dry. He tried to speak, but no words came out. Captain Hayes looked at Jake and Maria. "Were you two here when this happened?" "Yes, sir," Maria said quickly. "I arrived after Officer Martinez had already pushed Chief Washington against the wall, and—" "What did you do when you arrived?" Captain Hayes asked. Maria felt ashamed. "At first I didn't do anything. I should have checked her identification right away, but I didn't. I'm sorry, sir." Captain Hayes nodded, then looked at Jake Collins. "Officer Collins, what about you?" Jake looked down at the ground. I supported Officer Martinez's actions. I thought the woman was lying." "Even after you saw her identification?" Deputy Chief Brown asked. "We didn't want to believe it was real," Jake said quietly. Captain Hayes turned to face the crowd of people who were watching. "Ladies and gentlemen, I need to explain what happened here tonight." The crowd got quiet and listened carefully. "This is Chief Lisa Washington," Captain Hayes said, pointing to Lisa. "She was officially appointed as our new police chief and started her duties today. She was walking to her car after attending important meetings when Officer Martinez approached her." The crowd began to murmur angrily. Now they understood why this situation was so serious. Captain Hayes continued talking. "Officer Martinez made assumptions about Chief Washington based on how she looked. He treated her like a criminal when she had done nothing wrong. This is exactly the kind of behavior that Chief Washington was hired to stop." Danny Martinez felt his legs getting weak. The full weight of what he had done was hitting him. He had not just hurt an innocent woman. He had attacked the person who was supposed to be leading their entire police department. Deputy Chief Brown walked over to Danny. "Officer Martinez, you are suspended from duty immediately. You will surrender your badge and weapon right now." Danny's hands shook as he took off his badge and handed it to Deputy Chief Brown. He also gave him his gun. "Officer Collins," Deputy Chief Brown said, "you are also suspended pending investigation." Jake also had to give up his badge and gun. Maria Santos stood there waiting to hear what would happen to her. Chief Washington looked at Maria. "Officer Santos, you made a mistake by not acting sooner, but you did eventually do the right thing. You will not be suspended, but you will receive additional training on how to handle situations like this." "Thank you, Chief," Maria said with relief in her voice. Danny Martinez looked at Lisa Washington. He wanted to say he was sorry, but he knew that sorry would not be enough. He had shown everyone exactly what kind of person he was. The crowd of people began to clap for Chief Washington. They were happy to see that justice was being done. But Lisa knew that this was just the beginning. She had a lot of work to do to fix the problems in this police department. Danny Martinez stared at Chief Lisa Washington as the reality of what he had done finally hit him completely. His face went pale, and sweat began to form on his forehead, even though the night air was cool. His hands started to shake, and his breathing became fast and shallow. The weight of his actions crashed down on him like a heavy boulder. He had not just made a mistake. He had not just been rude to someone. He had physically attacked the new police chief. He had pushed her against a wall, hurt her, and destroyed her phone. He had done all of this because of his own racism and hatred. Danny's legs felt like they could not hold him up anymore. The strength left his body, and he dropped to his knees right there on the concrete sidewalk. The sound of his knees hitting the ground made everyone look at him. "Oh God," Danny whispered, his voice breaking. "What have I done?" The crowd of people watched as this police officer, who had been so mean and aggressive just minutes before, collapsed on his knees like a broken man. Some people felt sorry for him, but most felt that he was getting exactly what he deserved. "Chief," Washington looked down at Danny with calm eyes. She was not happy to see him suffer, but she was not going to feel sorry for him either. She had seen too many officers like Danny in her career. She knew that this was not just a bad day for him. This was who he really was. "Officer Martinez," Chief Washington said in a clear, strong voice. "You are kneeling there because you finally understand what you have done. But your understanding comes too late." Danny looked up at her with tears in his eyes. "Chief, I'm so sorry. I made a terrible mistake. Please, I have a family. I have kids. This job is all I have." Chief Washington nodded slowly. "You do have a family, Officer Martinez, and your children will now have to live with the shame of what their father did tonight. They will see you on the news. They will hear people talking about how their father attacked an innocent woman because of the color of her skin." Danny's tears were flowing freely now. He had not thought about his children until Chief Washington mentioned them. His son was 8 years old, and his daughter was 6. They would have to go to school and face other kids who had seen the videos of their father being racist and violent. Captain Hayes stepped forward. "Chief Washington, the paramedics are here if you need medical attention." 2 paramedics had arrived, with their equipment. Chief Washington looked at her scraped hands and felt the pain in her shoulder where Danny had twisted her arm. "Thank you, Captain. I would like them to look at my injuries and take pictures for the official report." As the paramedics began to clean Chief Washington's wounds, she continued to speak to the crowd that had gathered. More people had come to see what was happening. There were now at least 50 people watching, and many of them were still recording with their phones. "Ladies and gentlemen," Chief Washington said in a voice that everyone could hear, "what happened here tonight is exactly why I was hired to lead this police department. This kind of behavior has been going on for too long." The crowd listened carefully to every word she said. "Officer Martinez treated me badly because he made judgments about me based on my race. He saw a black woman in a nice neighborhood and decided I must be a criminal. He never considered that I might belong here. He never considered that I might be successful or educated or important." Danny was still on his knees, listening to every word. Each sentence felt like a punch to his stomach. Chief Washington continued, "But Officer Martinez is not the only problem. Officer Collins agreed with him and supported his actions. They both represent a culture in this department that must change." Jake Collins, who was standing nearby with his head down, felt ashamed. He knew that Chief Washington was right about him. "However," Chief Washington said, looking at Maria Santos, "Officer Santos eventually did the right thing. She listened to her conscience and checked my identification when her colleagues refused to do so. This shows me that not all officers in this department are lost." Maria felt grateful that Chief Washington was giving her a second chance, but she also felt guilty for not acting sooner. Chief Washington turned to address Danny directly. "Officer Martinez, you asked me to forgive you because you have a family. But what about all the other families you have hurt during your career? What about all the Black and Latino people you have treated badly over the years? Did you think about their families when you were being cruel to them?" Danny could not answer. He knew she was right. He had treated many people badly during his 8 years as a police officer. He had always told himself he was just doing his job, but he knew the truth was different. "Your actions tonight have consequences that go far beyond your own family," Chief Washington continued. "Because of what you did, people will lose trust in our police department. Other officers will have to work harder to prove they are not like you. The entire community will suffer because of your racism." Deputy Chief Brown stepped forward with some papers in his hand. "Officer Martinez, in addition to your suspension, you will face criminal charges for assault. You will also face internal charges for excessive force, racial profiling, and conduct unbecoming an officer." Danny closed his eyes and sobbed. His career was over. His reputation was destroyed. His family would be embarrassed and might even be in danger from people who were angry about what he had done. Chief Washington knelt down so she was at the same level as Danny. She spoke quietly so only he could hear her. "Officer Martinez, I want you to understand something. I am not happy that this happened to you. I did not want to be attacked tonight. I did not want to be hurt and humiliated. But since it did happen, I am going to use it to make changes in this department." Danny looked at her through his tears. "What do you mean?" I mean that your actions tonight have given me the perfect example of what is wrong with this police force. I will use what happened here to train other officers. I will use it to change policies and procedures. I will use it to show the community that we are serious about reform. Danny realized that his mistake would be talked about and studied for years to come. He would be remembered as the racist cop who attacked his own chief. Chief Washington stood up and addressed the crowd one more time. This incident will be thoroughly investigated. Officer Martinez will face the full consequences of his actions. But more importantly, this department will use tonight as a turning point. We will become better. We will serve all people fairly and with respect. The crowd began to clap and cheer. They were happy to hear that changes were coming. As the investigation team arrived to document everything that had happened, Danny Martinez remained on his knees on the cold concrete. He had lost everything in one night because of his own hatred and prejudice. Chief Washington walked toward her car, escorted by Captain Hayes and Deputy Chief Brown. Her suit was torn and her hands were bandaged, but she walked with dignity and strength. She knew that fixing this police department would be hard work. She knew that there were probably other officers like Danny Martinez who would resist change. But she also knew that tonight had given her the power and the motivation to make the changes that were desperately needed. The community would remember this night as the beginning of a new era for their police department. And Danny Martinez would remember it as the night his racism finally destroyed his life.